I'm Jake,
And I'm Brian.
and you're listening to Like It Was Yesterday.
Let's jump in the time machine. Welcome to episode 1 of Like It Was Yesterday, the show where we talk about, what it was like yesterday. Today's episode, we will be talking about our first crushes. It's gonna get embarrassing, but to have a conversation, I need someone to converse with. So I'm gonna bring in my co-host. His name is Jake Wakefield, and I don't believe I ever said my name. Hi, Jake. You got first billing.
Hello, Brian Deershow.
That's my name.
That's amazing that I know that. We might have met once or twice before.
Yeah. Well, right off the bat, before we started, I said that this was probably going to be a little bit of a train wreck.
Yes.
And it started right away when I forgot to introduce who I am as
fine.
a human being.
That's what this show is all about. The awkward memories and awkward lives of us and the people we talk to. And we have started off with a fantastic example.
Super on brand.
Yeah. As someone who knows brands, you are just nailing it.
Yeah, I clearly know brands. Yeah, and I'm the one who you've never done a podcast before.
I am literally tied to the chair right now as your prisoner.
Yep.
Send help and food.
And I was like, we're doing this. This is a thing I do.
And I'm like, who are you? Why are you in my house?
I'm like, you don't remember me? Oh, here, let me take off my mask.
Yeah, that's basically why we're here right now.
And scene. Yeah, and well, so you are. See, I'm the one that talks a lot these days.
Yes.
I am. If you don't know about me, and you probably do because you're probably someone that we personally know, if you're listening to this, I am an improv comedian.
Yep.
So I'm constantly on stage talking, saying stupid things.
Yeah.
Or doing another podcast.
Or off stage talking and doing stupid things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mostly revolving around doing stupid things.
That's how we do it.
And you are a graphic designer.
I am a graphic designer, so that should really set the level of the quality of my content. It is going to be just like there's low, and then there's like a little lower, and then there's like just a smidge lower than that. That's me.
You have all the conversational ability of someone who spends hours upon end
just
alone in a closed room.
Yeah. Basically, my experience is I know Photoshop.
Oh, well, that's going to come in handy.
That's super handy.
Hey, by the way, could you do our logo?
I'm too busy doing podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
I know exactly what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
It's all right. We both
like,
totally know what we're doing.
All right.
I'm shaking my head no.
And speaking of not knowing what we're doing.
Yeah, do you want to... Okay, well, we sort of intimated what this show is about.
Yeah.
We're part of a group of friends that we've known since junior high, and we, like any good group of friends that's grown up together, we have a lot of stories. When we get together, there's a lot of talk about, weird, funny, dumb things that we did when we were kids. And it's not necessarily like, we're longing for those days. Mm-hmm. Because I think everyone's doing pretty good these days.
Yeah.
Everyone's got good lives.
Yeah, everyone's doing okay.
A couple of us have doctorates, which is weird.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to love that we're putting this sort of stuff on the internet for them.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna love it.
I mean, what we've already put up on the internet of them is already embarrassing enough. This is a drop in the bucket.
That's also true.
But we love talking about those things, talking about old stories, the weird night that we went out and and shot a potato gun or things of that nature.
We didn't just shoot a potato gun. We filled the potato gun with chocolatey candy, shot it into the air, and then it rained down on us
Chocolatey riches.
Chocolatey riches, yeah. And anyone that we know listening right now just rolled their eyes and like, oh, not that story again. Just, oh, God, why would they talk about that again?
Well, to the person who's listening, who's rolling their eyes, guess what? We're going to bring up a lot of those type of stories because that's what this show's about. It's about reconnecting with those fun, goofy, embarrassing things that happened to us when we were kids.
Yeah, and because who doesn't have that story when you're a kid?
Yeah.
Of just, something awkward happening or something goofy happening. That's what, middle schoolers especially, that's their life.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're in that middle school into high school range, like your life like is awkward. It's just you're growing,
for sure.
Your metabolism is changing,
Yeah, and for anyone else out there like listening who's like, oh, I didn't have that sort of middle school experience. I was a cool kid in middle school.
No.
I knew what was up. Well, we weren't. So you can hear what us mortals were like.
Yeah, and congratulations, that one guy.
Yeah.
Good work, Chaz.
Wait,
I assume it's a Chaz.
I have never met a Chaz.
Neither have I.
Cool.
Well, we're clearly not the cool kids, and
No,
that's why we're doing.
That's true.
We're clearly not the cool kids because we're spending a nice, bright Saturday afternoon just talking into microphones about old stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
and meanwhile, Chaz is out with his supermodel girlfriend. I don't know, skiing in the Alps.
Just blowing up some Nar Pow. Is that it? No, I didn't do that right, did I?
No, and we can talk about the other times you've been skiing on later shows.
That will come up.
Oh yeah, because that's an adventure.
But today we're talking about our first crushes.
And everyone's had them.
Yep.
And we've had a few.
Yeah.
And
I had a string of them, so I've got some stuff to say, and it's all embarrassing. It's all embarrassing.
I mean, what story about a middle school crush isn't embarrassing? Just what isn't?
Yeah. Well, I'll start.
Yeah, why don't you start us off?
I'll just jump in.
Paint us a scene of a little half done with puberty Brian.
Just starting puberty Brian.
Just starting puberty Brian. Yeah.
Because if we're talking about first crushes, like I have to go back to 6th grade.
All right.
Is the earliest one I can remember. And in 6th grade, just to make things more, I was already an awkward kid. I've always been an awkward kid. I think I'm an awkward adult.
As an adult, you're still an awkward kid.
Yes.
On the inside.
Absolutely.
And outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
All around the town.
Yeah.
But it was so much worse when I was a kid. Like,
sure.
I've always been like, the fat kid.
Uh-huh.
I stick out like, and
now I knew Brian during this era, and awkward. I mean, it puts it in perspective to me because I was equally awkward.
Yes, you were.
I was quite wonderfully awkward, but I'd like to imagine that you were wearing maybe an Avalanche shirt, as you were known to do. You had many of those.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
Uh-huh.
That was before, because in 6th grade, I was living in Australia.
Okay.
My dad worked for Hewlett Packard, and he was working on a project. So we lived just outside of Melbourne, Australia.
All right.
And that was right when the Colorado Avalanche moved to Denver.
That's right. Yeah.
We left at the end of 1994.
And
the Avalanche came in 95.
Right.
And we came back in
They invented hockey
97.
in Australia in 1997?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know we had a hockey team until we came back.
Well, perfect.
2 years later. And
then
got back home, found out, oh, we have a professional hockey team.
And that was...
we won the Stanley Cup. Hooray, we're champions.
And that was his real crush.
Yeah,
That's his first crush, right?
Yeah, my first crush was a team I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Might as well have been. So I was living in Australia, which
All right.
for an awkward kid moving to a completely different country,
Yeah.
it made things so much worse.
Now, did people think your American accent was at least cool?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so that
and
helps.
no, it was terrifying.
Okay, great.
Because I just started to recognize, like, oh, these, I now have, something weird is happening to me and my
Right.
body.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just noticing girls.
And there's hair everywhere.
There's hair everywhere.
It's-
And so I was just noticing, like, having, like, some sort of attraction
Right.
to girls.
Yeah.
And I was like,
You're starting to see, like, hey, they're not so weird anymore. I kind of like how they look.
Yeah.
And kind of want to touch them. And
but I don't know
I don't
how
know.
to talk to them. I don't know.
yeah.
All of a sudden, even though before that point, you have no problem talking to whatever other kid.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you cross that threshold and you start having
that
a
magical
attractions
threshold of puberty.
to whoever you're attracted to, and all of a sudden you lose that ability to communicate.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you're like,
It's
does she like me? Will if I say this one thing, will she never speak to me again?
yeah. And
Everything's terrible.
yeah, and you're sitting in the middle of the class worrying about this, like during a test, because that's what you do.
Yeah. And so I moved to Australia, and now I had a few people that would every now and then, every few days, I would have some other kid come up to me and say, "Speak." Just prompt me to say words.
Did they at least give you like a treat if you did?
I wish.
Like, sit. Good, Brian. Speak. Good, Brian.
And then hand me like a Werther's. I don't know.
They balanced. Yeah, they balanced. I don't know, Australian candy.
A Tim Tam.
A Tim Tam. Okay, they balanced a Tim Tam on your nose, and they're like,
Yeah.
wait.
I would wait for a Tim Tam.
Wait. Get it, and then you like snap it into your mouth real quick. Like, good Brian, who's a
Yeah.
good boy.
Now say words.
Yeah.
And
Now roll
and I
over.
can distinctly remember that my first full year in Australia, we went on a class trip to a place called Wilson's Promontory. It's sort of like the southernmost tip of the mainland of Australia.
All right.
And it's like just a big park. There's some cool birds flying around, whatever.
It's just like an outdoor sort of park
Yeah.
sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah. And kind of like a nature preserve type of place.
All right. Yeah, I get you.
And during the trip, these two girls came up to me,
All right.
and it was their turn to prompt me that week. And they were like, "Say something." And I was just like, and my response was, hello?
Hello, I am an American. Would you like a cheeseburger?
And I finally said, like, hello, and maybe, like, one other word. And they giggled and ran away.
Oh, man. That
And I was like-
sounds about right.
And my brain was processing it as, oh, shit, this is so much worse. This is so much worse. I already can't talk to girls.
Well, yeah, because back then, any extra attention that was pulled to you,
Yeah.
like that made you different from that like norm, was just the worst.
And I was the one American
yeah.
in my school, in the entire school.
All right.
I was the only one, and I was the fat kid. I was a little bit taller.
Yeah.
I was on the tall end of my class.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like tall and fat and had the weird American person accent. And all I wanted to do was just disappear.
Of course, yeah.
But there was no way.
no.
And throughout all of this, puberty starts happening.
Yep.
Like, fuck. I mean,
Hair starts growing.
as if there could be a worse time for that.
yeah. Yeah, puberty's just, it never comes at a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
And so
No.
and so thus began my career. I would call it a career
All right.
because it started in 6th grade, it went through college
Right.
of trying to relate to people I had an attraction to and not knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
That was my MO. And I think everyone knew it. After a little while, it's like, oh yeah, Brian, here's another girl that Brian has a crush on that nothing's gonna happen. Don't worry about it.
But your first one, was it those two girls? Then?
No.
Okay.
My first one was a girl named Jessica.
Okay.
That was another weird thing that I never looked for.
Right.
But for some reason, like there were like 4 or 5 girls during that, 10 years or so,
right.
that were named Jessica
Oh. Well, shout
and
out
were
to
redheads
shout out to all those single redhead Jessicas out there.
that I had a crush on.
Right.
And Jessica she was cool. She was a cool kid.
All right.
It's weird to talk about it now because now I'm recognizing, like, of course, then we were the same age, but now I'm like,
yeah,
this was a 6th grader.
Yeah. Well, looking back at it now, you're like, oh, well, you.
But I remember her, like, she was really pretty.
Yeah.
And she was really nice.
Oh, see, that helped, yeah.
And she was one of the few people that, like, would talk to me.
Sure.
Because there weren't a whole lot. Like, other than prompting me to say things in my weird accent.
Other than human tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of interaction. Like, I had, like, 2 or 3 pretty good friends.
Sure.
And then there were a couple girls that would talk to me. And that was about it.
All right.
And she was one of them. And I just distinctly remember it was that, like, movie version of having a crush. Where it's like you're at this, like, like there's that camera shot where you're pretty you're 10 feet away in the hall, but then it pushes and all of a sudden it feels like you're a football field away.
Yeah, I know that shot.
Yeah, it was like that all the time.
Oh.
Because I never felt like I could talk to her.
It was just total brain mush, huh?
Yeah, we did. We were on a trivia team that won a state title.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I learned 2 things: that there were trivia teams in middle school, and that there were states in.
Yeah, and that I'm a state champion. Is that another thing you just learned just now?
I did.
Yeah, I did something good in school.
You did it.
And so, like, we, like, even during that time, like, it was a group of 4 of us.
Okay.
That were, like, we did the best at this, like, trivia at the school, and so they made us a team.
Oh, so you were on the same trivia team with this young lady?
Yeah. And,
all right.
And so we went to one of the Melbourne universities for, like, the state competition against other schools.
Okay.
And even during that time, it was just like a weekend. And it was like, a few miles from home, so we didn't, like, stay there or anything like that.
Okay.
And even during that whole time, I'm like, looking down the table at her, like,
Just every time you're around her, you're just, like, dumbfounded, just, like, slack-jawed.
Exactly.
Just staring. Like, they're asking you questions like, what's the 3rd president? And you're just like...
And I finally snap in and say the answer, and of course I'm wrong because I said an American president.
Of course.
And we're in Australia, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But no, like, all of those stereotypes, all of those things that, like, we see in movies and TV of that awkward interaction and not being able to talk to somebody that you're attracted to.
Oh, yeah.
All of that is how I felt.
For stereotypes, did the first time you see her, when she turned, did doves fly and wind flow through her hair gently?
This wasn't a John Woo movie.
I mean,
there were doves flying.
Most of my crushes involve doves.
But she did dive in slow motion, firing 2 pistols at the same time.
Most of my crushes involve that, too.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Well, this is going to be interesting when we get to you. Well, and it just set the stage for me.
Yeah.
I didn't really learn anything from that, interaction. Because I just, it was something I repeated through every other crush for the next decade.
Did you ever ask this young lady out to maybe ice cream?
No.
Okay.
In fact, fast forwarding, I think during that time period, I think I asked 2 people out.
All right.
In 10 years.
All right. Was it to ice cream?
Because all of those relationships were like, ugh.
Was it to ice cream? Did you ask him out to ice cream?
No, and maybe that's where I fucked up.
Maybe. Or maybe I just really want ice cream right now.
Okay. Well, do you want to stop this and go get ice cream?
No.
Oh, okay.
Send-
All right.
Send ice cream.
Please send ice cream to
God.
P.O. Box Internet.
It is 0 degrees outside, and I need ice cream.
Yeah. I had ice cream last night,
Nice.
but that's really not off-brand for me. So
All right, so you didn't ask out this young lady.
Nope.
Did you ever have a tender moment together where you gotta sneak away somewhere and I don't know,
No.
do a little middle school kiss?
No,
No.
it was nothing. It was pure infatuation.
You just sat from far away and just
yeah, and then
gave her that stare.
And then over time, over the course of the year, that kind of waned,
Okay.
and I started becoming friends with a gal named Helen,
All right.
and she was kind of like also a little bit of like an awkward outcast type,
Sure.
and
Sounds like fun.
so she was the one that got me,
got
so,
you. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
understood me.
Yeah, I gotcha. I was assuming she tackled you and she's like, notice me.
Yeah, she's the one that hit me frequently. No. And so as soon as we started building this friendship,
Right.
it was okay, that other crush was just a crush.
So
Now I have a crush on this girl that I'm
Oh, yeah.
and she we had several long conversations, as long as 6th grader conversations.
Yeah, they're
are.
deep conversations
Yeah.
about, I don't know, Pokemon or
Yeah,
I don't know,
something like that.
whatever Australia's version of Pokemon is.
Didgeridoo-mon.
Yeah.
There was a Digimon joke in there, and I totally fucked it. So I have to admit that.
That's all right. That's all right.
Didgeridoo-mon.
Didgeridoo-mon.
Didgeridoo-mon. Yeah, we got it. Okay, moving on.
So how did you meet this Helen then?
She was in my math class.
Okay.
Because we had homeroom, but
Yeah.
then we would go to Miss Nicola. She was really cool. She was one of the coolest teachers I've ever had.
Yeah.
We would go to her class to learn math,
Okay.
and Helen was in that class.
All right. So did you sit in the back and was she sitting up front and did you just were you next to each other?
I think we were sitting maybe next to each other.
All right, cool.
You know, within conversational range.
Yeah.
And then we took a class trip to Canberra, the nation's capital.
Okay.
And during that trip we got to hang out on the bus and
Nice.
a couple nights we went for a walk.
Did you sit next to each other on the bus?
Probably.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh. Was it in the back of the bus? Or was that where in Australia, did the bad kids still sit at the back of the bus?
I think that's a universal thing.
All right. I didn't know if it was the opposite in Australia, maybe, because they're in the other hemisphere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I know nothing about Australia.
the bus has to turn counterclockwise
Yeah.
when
That
it
makes
turns
sense.
around.
But you also said that you went on a walk through a park?
Just when we were in Canberra, we were in this the place we stayed. It wasn't a hotel or something like that.
Yeah.
It was these little units. So
All right.
bunch of little units in this
It was a bunch of cabins or something?
kind of, yeah, it was kind of like cabins but
All right.
that kind of feel where they were small little units where like 4 or 5 kids would stay in each one.
Sure.
And I distinctly remember one night, we had one of the guys I was staying with.
Mm-hmm.
He and I had this big ol' fight, like verbal fight.
Oh,
like shouting at each other.
Oh, what did you fight about?
He was, I don't even remember, but what it built up to was
super important, I'm sure.
He was he was even bigger of an awkward nerd than I was.
Okay.
Somehow.
So you had like an awkward nerd off?
Yeah. And his go-to was talking about how he was going to kick my ass.
Okay.
By referencing Men at Work. the song, I come from a land down under.
It's such an Australian thing.
Yeah, and
so good.
But it's so funny. The funny thing to me is that like it's an Australian thing, but it's like the thing that a sloppy American writer would write in as a character trait for an Australian character.
Yeah, so it's like they half-assed this character as a deadline.
They didn't
and they're like,
bother talking to an Australian person.
He'll just say like shrimp on the Barbie once, and he'll talk about Men at Work.
Exactly.
Right? And they're like, great, done.
Yeah. But here it was, right in front of me, a genuine Australian, born and bred in Australia,
right.
quoting Men at Work while he's screaming at me and threatening to kick my ass.
That's beautiful.
And so I was very weak-willed.
Okay.
And so I don't know, I started crying and I ran out.
Oh, nothing sadder than a little middle schooler crying.
And then Helen was out there.
Okay.
And she came over and she was really nice to me.
Aw.
And we had this moment where we just sat on the curb and talked.
Oh, that's super sweet.
Yeah. And
cute.
then nothing happened. The next year we went to two different schools. And
that's
the last time I ever heard from her.
That's how it goes sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Like, you sit back and think of all these people you met, and they come and go through your life like that.
Yeah.
And it's, it's sad and nostalgic, but, for that little piece of your life, like, she helped out.
Oh, yeah. It meant so much in that moment.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your...
Oh yeah, sure. We're gonna follow up Brian's incredibly like touching little moment with Jake's first crush moments.
Real bad and nasty.
It's like, no. So I'll paint the scene as I was in Loveland, Colorado.
Okay.
I was at a school called Bill Reed Middle School,
mm-hmm.
and Bill Reed Middle School was not a particularly nice middle school. I wouldn't say it was like in the hard part of town or anything. It was just
run down.
It was run down. It was like 100-year-old building. It was all brick, overpacked. Just like a school that didn't have enough funding. Like teachers that didn't care.
And it's by the way, it's still that way because I went there for a job.
Yeah.
I went there 4 or 5 times just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And exactly how you're describing it.
It's
down, overworked, underpaid teachers that don't have enough resources. Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of the students they just don't care. I mean, it's middle school already, but there's a lot of students that just, it was whatever. I had moved there, I had moved there for 6th grade. And middle school there went 6th, 7th, 8th, and then you switched over in 9th to high school. So this would have been when I was in 8th grade, I think, right before I moved schools. No, this would have been in 7th grade because I moved schools to a different, the new middle school in town right after that year, and it was a lot nicer. So the picture is me as a kind of pudgy, awkward little kid.
Yep.
I had just moved to this place. I didn't know anyone at the school. My first memory of the school is the 2 popular looking girls coming up to me and being like, "Hey, what clique are you in?" I'm like, I don't know what that is.
What's a
and they're like, are you a stoner, or are you a goth kid, or are you like some sort of like prep? I'm like, yes. So I wasn't exactly like the paragon of like a cool middle schooler.
Sure.
But there was the paragon of a cool middle schooler, and her name was Susie.
Hello.
And
That's a classic crush name.
right?
Susie. Susie the cool girl.
So I should explain that I have no memory of what she looks like.
Human female.
And in fact, I don't think I ever really interacted with her.
Yep. Okay, I've got crushes like that. Yes.
So, but she was the cool kid that everyone apparently had a crush on.
Yeah.
So everyone else had a crush on her. So I'm like, I guess I have a crush on her too, because I'm a middle school and I got to be cool too. So it's like
Crush by association.
it was so much that, and I never spoke to her, except for one instance. I don't even think I had a class with her. As far as I know, if I hadn't talked to her like this one time, I wouldn't have believed she was real. Like,
Sure,
she was this entity that people talked about because she was like this popular kid, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And as middle schoolers do, they talk, and you hear stories about like, oh, this cool person did this cool person did this, and everyone had a crush on Susie. And for the sake of her privacy, just in case she's out there on the internet, I won't say her last name, but it was a last name that was like a classic last name for a middle school crush.
So she just fit like if we had fast forwarded her into high school, she would be the captain of the cheerleaders.
Yeah, exactly.
She'd be the homecoming queen.
Yes, she was the middle school equivalent of the homecoming queen, who's like volunteers with orphan dolphins, and and everyone loves her, and she does no wrong. She walks on clouds.
And then
angels sing when she comes into a room.
And then that one time you'd be at like a friend's pool party, and then she'd be there. And
that's when that party got real. When Susie shows up, that's when it happens. And like, I obviously never went to a party with her. I wasn't cool enough to party in middle school.
Yeah.
You know this about me, but my coolness level was basically I knew the lunch lady. She was my grandma, and I had a monopoly on tater tots. So that was me. I played a lot.
Well, and if you weren't such a soft-spoken kid,
yes,
like I know you were.
Oh, I was the most soft-spoken kid.
Same here for the most part. That's something that you would, if you were like had a little bit more willpower, unlike us, you would leverage that.
I could have. I could have if I literally ever saw this person. I don't think I ever saw this person. She was just this. She was just like this goal on the horizon, as far as the horizon.
So she's like, she's almost like a myth.
She was this myth of this like character who I don't even know.
Like a sexy Mothman.
Like a siren.
Yeah. There we go.
Luring me.
That's better than my dumb thing.
I mean, a sexy Mothman. I mean, I bet that's on the internet. I'm looking it up right now. I'm not really. Don't tell him.
But we might look it up later.
We're going to look that up.
Hey, folks, if you're listening, look up sexy Mothman and see what happens to you.
I'm going to draw one right now, so we'll get back to that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come back to that one.
If you draw a sexy Mothman, I will post this. I will post a link to it with the episode.
All right.
Because I want everyone to see your your creative talent.
I don't really know how to draw moths, but I'll work on it.
So you were never like in class with her?
Never had class with her. The only memory I have of her is during yearbook signing, and that was the only interaction I think I ever had with her. There was no moment like you had where she was at the end of a hallway and the magic happens. I only knew of her. So I might have been a quiet kid, but
Yeah.
I was not a kid who was afraid of a lot of stuff. Like I was
Sure.
a kid, like if people dared me to do stuff, I would do it.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I would do stuff just to spite people. So
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna paint the new scene. It's yearbook signing day, the
Oh,
last
yeah.
day of school.
Have a good summer. I signed
Yep.
in your crack.
Yeah,
All the classics.
that is a classic right there.
Yep.
I signed in your crack. Oh man,
I think I've got 4 yearbooks with that in one of the
I
cracks.
guarantee there is that. So we're out on the football field as you do in middle school.
Uh-huh.
And we're just kind of wandering around. I'm with a group of my friends. There's maybe 3 or 4 of us. And finally, there she is on the bleachers. And she's just sitting there, and like no one's really around her. And we're like, we should get Susie to sign our yearbooks.
Oh, Susie.
So my 2 friends or 3 friends or however many there were are talking to each other, and they're trying to like hype each other up. And they're like, oh man, no, you go do it. No, you go do it first. And I'm like, oh, you guys do it first. And then like, no, we're not going to do it. No, this is crazy. Like Susie will notice us. Like that's crazy. We can't do that. And I'm like, guys, I'm going to do it. And like, no, you're not. And I'm like, guys, I'm like, no, you're not going to do it. You're too afraid. You're the quiet guy in the group. I'm like, I'm going to do it.
You're never going to do it.
They're like, they started badgering me like, you'll never do it. And I'm like, I'm totally going to do it. Like in that middle
Yep.
school, like, I'm totally going to do it. They're like, no, you
Nuh-uh.
won't. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, huh? And then see, it doesn't stop there. It escalates. And
Ooh.
and they're like, you're not going to do it. I'm like, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get her to sign it twice. And they're like, you a madman. You what? And I'm
Are
like,
you crazy? Are you crazy right now?
and they lost their minds. They're like, twice? There's no way. There's no way she would never do that. And I'm like, yeah. You know what? I'm going to do it. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to get her to sign it 3 times.
Oh.
And naturally, our collective middle schooler shits were lost.
Yep.
I went up once, and I said hi. I don't think you know me, but I'm Jake. And I, said hi and introduced myself.
Yep.
In, probably an awkward middle schooler sort of way.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, can you sign my yearbook? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. She's like, hey, you seem like a nice dude or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, thanks. And I go away and I like show my friends. They're like, oh, losing their minds. This is amazing. Oh, he did it. I'm like, oh, we're going to totally get married now. And then they're like, I'm like, they say they're like, oh, you got to do it 2 more times. I'm like, all right, watch. I go up again. I'm like, hey, my friends, they dared me to get you to sign my yearbook 3 times because like you're like the coolest person in the school. And she's like, oh, that's super nice. Thanks. I'm like, could you sign my yearbook like 2 more times just to shut them up? And she's like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, heck yeah. And I still got that yearbook somewhere in, piles of old boxes in my
Yep.
parents' basements where Susie saved the day and shut up all those friends. And I got
So
crazy middle schooler cred.
Oh, yeah. So Susie, it sounds like that's one interaction, but
Yeah.
it sounds like Susie was as cool as advertised.
As far as I could tell, yeah. And she had no friends around her, so maybe she was as like weird and quiet as everyone else, and she's just
Maybe.
like, "Hey, someone's talking to me. That's nice."
Yeah.
And then next day, summer came, and next school year, I was at a different school. Never saw or spoke to her again,
Yep.
and that was it. So, Susie, if you're out there, thank you for helping me shut up my friends.
This one goes out to Susie.
This one goes out to Susie.
That's awesome. That's a good story.
Yeah, that was like my first really like interaction with that sort of thing in the middle school, like of like a dare.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, your friends are like hyping you up to do this thing.
I don't know if I was ever dared to do anything significant.
Okay.
And if I was, I definitely didn't do it.
Mm.
Cuz I was the opposite. Like I was never. I was always the one like dragged into things by you guys.
Yes, yeah.
And
that's true.
And I was always the first one to be like, "Hey, we should go. We should go. We should get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
Even if it was something innocuous, like
Oh yeah.
I was always the one with like my head on a swivel, like we're gonna be in trouble at all times.
That's
So I would
totally-
have never done
That
that.
sounds completely accurate. And
Yep.
I was the opposite. I was always like, or we could set that on fire. I mean, it's not on
it was
fire
probably
right
that
now.
attitude, like underneath the very quiet exterior
Oh, yeah.
that you had in junior high. That was why you ended up with the group of guys.
Mm-hmm. No,
It
I
was
was
like, oh, there's something under there.
I was
This is a
very
cool guy.
quiet, but I was always very active and always
Yeah,
like doing
definitely.
something. So, yeah, I didn't say much, but I didn't like I didn't shy away from doing other things. I
Sure.
think, and yeah, that was the only middle school crush I had actually. Because before that, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to a new school, and that was like technically the, like, no, that was still middle school, and there was one more crush.
Okay.
It wasn't at the middle school though.
Okay.
But it's your turn. Do you got another story? I've been
Well,
rambling on about
what
how
I
it
was thinking
cool.
about as we were talking
Yeah.
is I had a question
Okay.
that I have an answer for, and I was wondering if you might have something.
Yeah, go for it.
Did you ever have a crush on a teacher?
No. I never even had like a crush on, or even a teacher that was like could have been crushed on. Like a lot of the teachers I remember were very, very old, angry grandpa looking dudes. I remember like one or two teachers who were women who were in my elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't remember very many until high school, and I never had a crush on any teachers in high school, or really any older person in high school. I mean, exceptions being like celebrities and like all that, but
Sure.
yeah. But yeah, I don't remember anyone being like, "Oh man, that teacher! I'm gonna have to learn Spanish just so I can hang out with that teacher."
I can think of one teacher,
All right,
an English teacher in high school
okay,
that I kind of had a crush on, and it wasn't like, oh, she's so pretty, or
yeah.
it was like, oh, she's like pretty fucking cool.
So I went to high school with you, and
Yep.
I'm doing my best to remember, like, who do I know that was a lady high school English teacher? And you can just use a different name to keep her identity secret.
I'll write it down
Okay.
because I don't want to make things weird if it.
I'm peeking over. Okay, yeah, I have
You
no
remember
idea.
her?
Nope,
Nope.
never had that as a
Never
teacher.
had her?
Have no
Okay.
idea who that is. Cool.
But she was just like it was all an attitude thing.
Okay.
Because most people, as I found out, most teachers will fall into the teacher role and just be very like straight down the line with their students,
Yeah.
and won't really. They'll be it's a completely different version of themselves.
Yeah, it's very professional.
Yeah,
it's very put together.
Because nowadays I know quite a few teachers.
Yeah.
And there are only a two or three that I know that really like allow their real personality to come through when they're teaching.
Yeah. You have to be especially charming to do that too.
Yeah.
Because wrangling high schoolers and middle schoolers is an art.
Well, and as you have to also be very cognizant of how you're acting.
Yeah.
I think that's why most teachers just kind of have this wall between their personalities.
Sure.
So that they don't ever run into something awkward or potentially bad or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're real human beings, and that's the thing you don't really figure out until like just as you're getting out of high school.
Oh, for sure.
Or
Like,
even later for some people.
Nah, for sure. Like you're in high school, and it's always there's always that weird moment when you see your teacher in real life.
Yeah, like at
Not
the
at-
grocery store.
Yeah, and it's really
Like,
uncomfortable.
you eat
Like,
food?
well, I eat food. That's so weird. We should never speak again because
Yeah.
you're my teacher. What?
Ugh.
Ugh.
But yeah, it's like it's such a separation, and
Yeah.
but they're just like anybody else,
Yeah.
They hang out with their friends. They
Yeah.
they probably pal around with folks and make dick jokes just like the rest of us.
They have their own middle school crushes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They just happen to be teachers.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And
Oh,
but
so this one teacher was particularly charming for you, huh?
yeah, I could tell, like, she wasn't like the very loose pal, pal around teacher.
She wasn't like she wasn't acting at your age, being like, "Oh, I'm such a cool high schooler, like you cool high schoolers too."
Yeah,
I love all those high school things,
She
like
wasn't-
the Pokemans and Halos.
she wasn't like our junior high art teacher
Yeah,
who would just like give an assignment and then kick his feet up on the counter. You
Yeah.
know who I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Man,
I mean,
what a job.
the the format of his class, he could get away with that.
Yep.
But I've encountered people that teach like English and whatnot that have that same attitude, and guess what? They're crappy teachers.
Yeah.
So there was still this air of authority, and she's properly teaching.
Sure.
But she had this like warmth and friendliness about
Okay.
her and how she went about
Yeah, it was
teaching, and
just like a kindness that kind of
Yeah.
like glows out from that person.
and boy oh boy, that I had such a crush on her. I had such
Yeah?
a crush on her because I was like, because it was that may have been the first time when I truly had a 100% crush on a personality.
Okay.
On someone for who they are, not just what they look like or the combination of the two,
Yeah.
but just for like who they intrinsically are. Like,
Right.
I dig, how you treat people and how you live your life.
Okay. And then you went on LimeWire later and looked up teacher porn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, was it LimeWire? I think LimeWire was later. It was probably Napster.
You had to Google it.
Probably straight up Napster.
Yeah.
No.
Just
Well, I never had those like fantasies either.
no.
No.
Oh, I mean,
I did have physical attractions to. There were 3 or 4 TAs,
Okay,
like college age.
that's a little closer in age, yeah. So I
Yeah,
get
college age. Teachers' assistants getting their teaching credits.
ya. Yeah.
And so there were like a couple band TAs. And,
Okay.
And actually, the TA in her class, her English class.
Oh.
She was particularly a very fetching young lady
Goodness.
that both Danny and I were like, ooh, hello.
I hope that was a class where we didn't have to do a lot of presentations up on the board.
I need to stay back here. Can I go last?
Dude,
Or not at all?
can I not?
But yeah, maybe we'll talk to at some point in the future. We'll get Danny, our friend Danny Wilson. I'm name checking him. He's a doctor.
Get a job, hippie.
Yeah, we'll get him when he's back in Colorado. We'll get him on the show, and
Yeah, and he has like
'Cause-
5 more jobs than us combined. So
yeah. But he also has a billion super embarrassing stories from
oh
when he
yeah,
was- from when we were children. So
and we're gonna milk that cash cow for
Yeah.
stories.
that'll be the extra length. It'll be like a 5-hour episode.
it'll be a mini
and we
series.
won't say a word. We'll just set him off and let him go.
Yeah, we'll sit back and like play some video games, and he'll just tell all sorts of stories about the magic of his puberty.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
throughout the whole of your schooling, you never had.
I don't remember ever having a TA outside of college. And when you're in
Sure.
college, it's like you're basically the same age. You're
Yeah,
close
I
enough.
mean-
It's not the same. But
They're
in
grad students.
yeah. In middle school and high school, I don't even remember having a class with a TA. So I obviously didn't have a crush on any of them. And I never really remember having a crush. To be honest, I didn't really have that many crushes in high school.
Just in general?
Or middle school, yeah. And then
Okay.
outside of that, definitely not on teachers.
I was I was a giant mess. Always getting a crush on somebody.
You just crush a machine.
Yeah.
You're the Orange Crush.
Yes.
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 I don't know.
Blue
Anyway.
Crush.
I think, we're gonna start to wrap it up here, but
All right.
it's so embarrassing. Like I honestly, like, we could talk for a few more hours about that. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's just a string of embarrassment for me,
Dude. Like crushes at dances, which is maybe what we'll talk about next time. Our first dance.
I've got a sad, awkward dance story.
That sounds nice.
But that's for another day.
That sounds real nice.
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
So,
But that's tease for next time.
yeah. So what we're gonna do, I think, is we've started to compile a list of different topics from youth. Things like first crush. Things like your awkward dance stories.
Favorite toy as a kid.
Favorite toy. Your favorite video game system. I can speak about Nintendo all day long.
I want to hear about people's favorite road trips. Favorite crazy family stories on vacation. They know there are some out there.
Yeah, we've already come up with a bunch of ideas, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to put it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Just publish the list, and we'll just keep adding to it.
Well, and let's let all of you out there listening to also add in.
Exactly. Like I'll figure it out by the time this comes out. I will figure out a place, and it'll be I'll put it in the description of the episode.
All right.
So you'll know where you can go and find this list.
Yeah, click on that very important link when the time comes.
Yeah, and then you can send us your ideas for other topics, and we'll take a look at them and add them to the list.
I want to talk about awkward birthday parties. Surely.
Awkward birthday parties.
And, well, not now.
I think I have a couple. I think I have a couple. I think I can. Okay.
Chill.
I was just trying to think about it.
You want to throw an awkward birthday party right now?
Let's throw an awkward birthday party. Happy birthday to the podcast. You're 0 years old. You're 1 day old.
You did it.
So, we're also looking for. We might be adding some segments. If there's some recurring segments. If there's something that you, the listener, would love to hear about, maybe we can work that in. We're really open to suggestion. This is brand new. We're just kind of figuring it out, and yeah. So we would love to hear your input.
Yeah.
I think Jake is working.
And if you want to be on the show, bug Brian.
Yes.
And
yes.
if you've got stories to tell, we want to hear about them.
Yeah, we want to talk to people. We've already got a mental list of a bunch of people that we intend to talk to. But the beauty about this is that everyone's got those stories. And like we said at the top, unless you're cool boy Chaz, who somehow made it through school without doing anything weird or embarrassing, then you've got something to talk about.
You do, and we want to hear it.
And even if you were a cool kid, let's talk about what your favorite stuff was. What did you do? What experience did you have with your sports team or your band?
How were you so cool? Please tell us.
How were you so cool? Oh, I want to talk to a cool kid.
Ooh.
Let's track down a cool kid.
I don't know any of those.
No, I don't know either.
No.
It's going to be a process. We're going to have to talk to a friend of a friend, get in touch with Susie.
If you're a cool kid, email us.
Yeah, Susie, get in touch with us. We want to talk about how cool you are. Because neither of us have that.
I just want to email this random person, be like, "Hey, I talked to you once in middle school, and you want to be on my podcast?"
You were the coolest kid.
You were
in
the coolest dude. And she's like, please never speak to me again."
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, well, this is weird. But yeah, I would love to get that perspective because I don't. That's not a world that I relate to. Like
No.
I could identify sort of like the cool group of kids, the kids that were considered cool. Although Rocky Mountain High School, where we went to school, wasn't really like it had groups,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say like hard like cliques
No, definitely not.
because there was a lot of crossover, and the cool kids were like noticeably cooler in that cool kid way, but it didn't really mean much.
I mean, yeah, there were the cool kids, and then there were the kids who like sat in the band hallway eating out of a giant can of pudding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were pretty cool. I mean, whoever that was,
Dude, whatever. That chocolate pudding was good.
eating tubs of fries with mayonnaise,
Yeah. Never did that.
throwing pizza at the ceiling.
I mean, I never did that
Zach Crook?
either. Nothing like that happened.
So-
We were cool dudes.
Yeah, super super cool dudes. So anyway, send us any of your ideas. We will add, like I said, by the time this comes up, there will be a link to the page with our topics.
It'll be
And-
down there. Click it.
Yeah, and there will be a link to how you can, if you want to send us an email.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably have an email address set up, but you can also always send me an email, brian@deershaw.com. That's BRYAN at DIERSCHOW.com. It's
Thankfully, you have a very easy to spell name that no one will ever mistake.
super, super easy.
Yeah.
Well, if I ever do any acting, I won't have to change my name to
That's true.
register, so that's good.
true. And yeah, you're easy to Google. Just
Yeah.
Google Brian's name.
Yeah, once you know how to spell my name,
Yep.
then I'm the easiest person to get in contact with. Because
Or
nobody shares my name.
or people could find you through your podcast page.
Yes, I also am the host of As We Go Along, which is an improv comedy.
And I'm sure
Podcast.
far funnier than me. So
Oh,
you should listen to them all because they know what they're doing.
But like that's one where like we're trying to be funny. But see,
Yeah.
like you're like funny in like a real life way. We're
Oh,
funny in like a
this
we're
guy.
forcing it way.
This guy,
It's-
he's winking at me while he says that.
Wink, 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 wink.
He's like, "Oh, you're so funny." He's rubbing my knee now. It's kind
Uh-huh.
of weird.
Yep. I'm moving up. Here it comes.
And if we ever post the video from this, you're going to see that we're clearly very far apart on this table.
Shut. You destroyed. You broke the fourth wall on that, and I'm very upset
Oh,
because we had a thing going.
oh,
So, oh no! Now we're touching hands,
yeah.
and that one's true.
Is it though?
So yeah, you can check out my show, my other show, as we go along.
right.
You can find it in all the places: iTunes, Stitcher. You can go to aswegoalongshow.weebly.com. That's my current web address.
Nice.
It has pictures and
Some sort of
audio
audio
files.
All right, cool.
Um,
So I can listen to it while I'm maybe cooking dinner or
You could.
on the road.
absolutely,
maybe
straight out of
during
that
a run.
SoundCloud player. It's
Nice.
real nice.
It's legit.
And Jake,
Yes.
you're a graphic designer,
I am.
and I know you've got stuff to
Yeah.
promote to tell people.
I'll promote.
Because I can attest
Yes.
that you are a tremendous artist.
Mm-hmm.
To-
All
to heap praise
visual.
on you.
All visual art too. So this whole audio thing is totally new to me.
Yeah, but
And you can check out some of my art if you go to www.wakegraphic.com or if you go to www.cosamo-art.com. The first one is my graphic design stuff. The second one is my illustration stuff, and it is as nerdy as you would imagine it to be.
that second one, how's it spelled?
COSAMO-art.
Dash art. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. You had to think about that one, didn't you?
I almost said Casomao, which
Cool.
is
Oh.
absolutely incorrect.
All right. Well, if you want to check out his stuff, disregard the second spelling. Go to the first one.
Just Google the heck out of my name. Google it so
Google
hard.
the heck out of it. It's really good. I still love there's that piece that you made a few years ago.
Yeah.
The Spirited Away
All right,
piece.
yeah, I get a little bit of attention online.
So good.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks.
one of my favorites.
Well, thank you.
I mean, all your stuff is excellent, but that's one
sure.
of my favorites. So
For sure.
So yeah, check out his stuff. He's terrific. And we will see you soon. Oh, I'm being handed I'm being handed a picture of a that is one sexy Mothman.
That's that's what 4 years of an art degree and 10 years of professional design work do.
So if you want a little glimpse into Jacob's art styling, I will attach this I'll take a photo of this.
Please do.
And attach this to the episode somehow, so you can all see about that sexy Mothman that we were talking about.
It's real nice.
Very.
He's thinking about you.
I gotta put it away because I'm trying to do something here, and it's just looking me down the barrel.
It's all right.
So that's gonna do it for today. Thank you so much for listening. We're gonna get out of here, but we will return soon with another episode of Like It Was Yesterday.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time, folks.
Bye.
Bye.